Now, what's interesting is that can be exapted. Your brain's ability to attach to a tool can move off of a physical thing onto a cognitive thing. So a physical tool fits your biology, see, fits your biology and enhances it. Right? I can leave permanent marks that I can't otherwise do biologically on this board. I have a bottle. It fits my hand and I can carry liquids around. If I had to carry, like that's the amount of liquid I can carry is minimal. It fits your biology and enhances it. A psychotechnology fits your brain and enhances how it operates. And you say, what are you talking about? What's a psychotechnology? Look, here's one right here. It's called literacy. You're not born literate. You're born linguistic. You're born learning how to talk, right? Noam Chomsky, all that sort of thing. But you're not born literate. In fact, for most of our history, we were completely illiterate. What does literacy do for you? It's a standard set of tools that standardize how you process information. Notice how it enhances your cognition. I don't have to hold all these terms in my mind. I can leave them there on the board. I can write stuff down and come back to it later. So notice what I can do. I can take my brain now and link it to my brain back then and my brain in the future. So I'm networking all these instances together. I'm improving my cognition. I can also network my brain with your brain and improve my ability to solve problems. Think of, if I were to do this to you, I'm going to take literacy out of your brain right now. And you can't, and I mean literacy in your head too. You can't imagine words. You can't put stuff on paper. You can't reflect on your own cognition. I take that out of you. Your brain is the same hardware, but the problems you can solve collapse down dramatically. That's what psychotechnologies do. They enhance the software of your cognitive machinery. Now, shamanism is a set of psychotechnologies for altering your state of consciousness and enhancing your cognition. So, what does shamanism look like? What are the kinds of things you do when, right, you're a shaman? There are many people, of course, claim to be practicing shamanism today, and that's another thing. Why this rise in neo-shamanism? What are people thinking they're trying to get from it? Okay, so the shaman does a lot of interesting things in order to get into a particular state. So the shaman will often engage in things like sleep deprivation, intense, long periods, hours of singing, dancing, chanting. The shaman will often engage in imitation, put on the clothing, mask that represents some other figure, some other animal, right? Sometimes the shaman will go into periods of isolation, social isolation, go out into the wilderness. And of course, although it's not necessary, but it has been pervasive, shamans will make use of psychedelics in order to help bring about an altered state of consciousness. So what's going on here? Steve Taylor, in his book, Waking from Sleep, talks about these disruptive strategies that people even today use in order to try and bring about what are called awakening experiences, these radical transformations in people's sense of self and reality. We're going to talk about that. But one of the main ideas here is what a shaman is typically doing is trying to disrupt the normal ways in which you're finding patterns in the world. Why would you want to disrupt the normal way you find patterns in the world? Because the way you find patterns, and remember I said this, the very thing that makes you adaptive also makes you subject to self-deception. The way you find patterns, right, is very profound. So this is something I study as a scientist, right? Many of you may have seen this. All right, so this is called the 9-dot problem. You have to join all 9 dots with 4 straight lines. You have to start the next line from the terminus of the previous line. And when people see this, they initially say, well, this is very easy. Of course I can do this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait, I missed the middle dot. Okay, 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, wait, 1, 2, and then they pause. This actually turns out to be a very difficult problem for people to solve. Joining all 9 dots with 4 straight lines. But why is it hard? 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines. What was hard about that? Now when you do that, of course, people get angry at you. They say you cheated. You went outside the box. You went outside the square. That's where think outside the box comes from. Now why that was hard is because you projected a pattern here, the square. And then you engaged unconsciously, your skills of connecting the dots. When you were a kid, you'd connected the dots. And when you connect the dots, you're not supposed to do this. Make a non-dot turn. If you do that, you won't get a picture of a picnic table. You'll get like an acid trip psychedelic thing, right? So, unconsciously, you project a pattern, and then you activate the appropriate skills, and then you're locked and you're blocked. You can't solve that problem, not because of anything there in the data, but because of the way you have framed it. You have to disrupt your framing. We're going to talk a lot about that in order to get an insight. Now, let me tell you something, again, to start to introduce this to you. Saying to people, think outside the box, and this is kind of funny if you think about it, saying to people, think outside the box, does not help them with this problem. Giving them the belief that they have to go outside the box does not help them to solve this problem. That's what I meant when I said you shouldn't reduce all of your sense of knowing to believing. What's involved here is not believing that you have to go outside the box, it's knowing how to go outside the box. How to alter your attention. How to change your perspective on what's salient to you, what's relevant. How to alter what's important or real to you. Now what shamanism is it's a set of practices, disruptive practices and attentional practices that are designed to disrupt everyday framing so that the shaman can get enhanced insight. Well, now what kind of insight? Insight into patterns in the environment that other people might not be picking up on. Enhanced insight, mind sight into other people. And here's this sense of participatory knowing that I mentioned. When the shaman is enacting the animal, the shaman isn't having beliefs about the deer. The shaman is becoming the deer. I don't mean metaphysically, but the shaman is trying to get together the sense of the skills, the kind of perspective the deer has, the way the deer thinks, the kind of world the deer lives in. And by becoming the deer, by having this participatory knowing of what it is to be a deer, it enhances the ability to track and find the deer. Now these enhanced capacities for insight and mind sight, participatory knowing, means the shaman combines a lot of things that are for us in separate individuals. Shamans are highly charismatic. Imagine if you could take a rock star, like a super rock star, a super